Good evening, students. So today we shall discuss about morphology of plants. Okay. So we have already discussed about the roots. So here also I will be explaining about the roots first. So what do you mean? Firstly, what do you mean by morphology of plants? Okay. Morpho means form. Logos means study. So when we study the form and features of a plant, then it is known as morphology. Okay, when we study the form and features of a plant is known as morphology. Now coming to morphology of root. Roots arises from radicle of the seeds. Okay, so we have already studied about seed, right? So bean shaped seed, from the middle part you get the get the root and the shoot system. Okay, the one which grows downwards into the soil is the root system, and one which goes upwards is the apex, the apical system or the shoot system, right? So root arises from radicle of the seed, grows downwards. Okay, roots do not bear buds, nodes and internodes. When we see the stems, they have the nodes, internodes, etc. But here in the roots we doesn't have any buds, nodes and internodes. Contains unicellular root hairs. Unicellular root hairs are present. Okay. Next, contains many regions. So in the morphology we have to study about many regions. So what are those regions? So for example, if this is the root, okay, so it has many regions like root cap, meristematic zone, zone of elongation, root hair zone. Okay, so firstly we'll go with the root cap region. The tender apex, this one. Okay, the tender apex of the root is protected by a multicellular structure called root cap. So the tender apex, tender means soft, okay, sensitive part. So it is been covered by a multicellular structure, protected by a multicellular structure which is known as root cap. That is about the root cap region. Next, zone of meristematic region, this one. Okay, small region of 1 mm in length. It is a very small region. It's the growing part of the root. So here what happens, multiplication of the cells takes place. So as the cells multiply, they goes on producing them upwards. Okay, so it is the growing part of the root system. Contains meristematic cells which multiply. So we have already discussed about that. Next, region of elongation. So as new cells develop over here, the old one, that is the one which had been already produced, they goes upwards. Okay, so here what happens, just above the meristematic zone, cells are newly formed and elongate rapidly, leading to increase in the length of the root. So as here the zone, this is known as the zone of elongation. As the new cells are being developed and they push on to the zone of elongation, the root increases in length. Okay, it increases in length, thereby it goes deep into the soil. Okay, next, region of root hair. So lastly, the region of root hair, covered with root hairs, helps in absorption of water, nutrients, minerals which are present inside the soil. Okay, next one is types of roots. So there are two types of roots. One is taproot, which is helpful. What are the functions? Storage of food and respiration. Another one is the adventitious root, which has three functions, that is storage of food, helps in support system, and also some special functions. So these are the diagrams of the taproot as well as adventitious roots. Okay, next, taproots. So firstly we'll speak about taproots, also known as true roots. These are also known as true roots. Okay, develops from the radicle of the seed, mainly seen in dicot plants. Okay, mainly seen in dicot plants, in dicotyledonous plants. Next, primary root goes deep into the soil. This is the primary root, and the sides which are grown, okay, transversely are the secondary roots. Okay, while the secondary root spreads horizontally. So these grow horizontally. Okay, next, adventitious roots. This is about the taproot system. These are also known as true roots. These are developed from the radicle of the seed, mainly seen in the dicotyledonous plants. Okay, the primary root grows deep into the soil, whereas the secondary roots which grow horizontally. Okay, next, adventitious roots. These doesn't develop from radicle of the seed. Okay, they generally grows from stems, leaves, branches, etc., and mainly seen in monocotyledonous plants and some dicotyledonous plants. Okay, so this is about the adventitious roots. Next coming to modifications. What are the modifications seen? So firstly we'll go for the taproot modifications. We have studied two types of root systems, right? Taproot as well as adventitious roots. So first we will see taproot modifications. And taproot modifications also, in taproot we have studied about functions, right? Storage of food, respiration. Adventitious roots we have seen storage of food, support, special function, right? So depending upon that, firstly we'll go for taproot modification. Under taproot modifications, fleshy roots for storage of food. Okay, so firstly fleshy roots for storage of food. So firstly inside this category we have conical roots, fusiform roots, napiform roots, tuberous roots. Okay, four types: conical roots, fusiform roots, napiform roots, tuberous roots. Firstly conical, thicker at the base. Okay, thicker at the base and tapering at the apex. So this one lower, when we go for the lower region it is known as apex, and this one is known as the upper region is known as the base. So here the base is thicker in nature and the apex is tapering. Tapering means conical, very sharp. Okay, tapering in nature. Example, carrot. Next one, fusiform roots. Both the apex and base are tapering and middle region is thicker. Example, radish. So the upper region and lower region are tapering, whereas the middle region is somewhat thicker. Okay, example, radish. That is about fusiform. Next, napiform. At the base they are swollen like a ball, and apex is tapering like a thread. Okay, see here, the base upper region, right? The base is like a ball. It is swollen like a ball, whereas the apex is like tapering like a thread. That much thin it will be. Okay, example, sugar beet, beetroot, etc. Okay, and next one is the tuberous roots. They doesn't have a particular shape. They doesn't have any particular shape, whereas the fusiform, napiform, tuberous roots, they have some shapes which we have discussed here. Whereas for conical, fusiform, napiform, they have particular shapes, but tuberous roots doesn't have any particular shape. Okay, they are swollen wherever the food is been stored. Example, mirabilis. Example for this tuberous roots is mirabilis. This is depending upon the storage of food. Okay, the first modification was depending upon the storage of food. Next one is for respiration. Okay, this category is for depends upon the respiration. Some plants grow in oxygen deficient areas or waterlogged areas or mangroves. Examples, mangroves. So in these plants, root develops vertical conical spikes known as lenticels. So this is the plant which has been, or tree which has been present in a waterlogged area. Okay, waterlogged area. So where the whole thing is been stagnated with water. So the breathing can be difficult for the roots. Okay, so in that case what happens, they produce ventricle conical spikes known as lenticels. Okay, lenticels, through which air enters into the plant. Okay, through this have some pores through which the air enters, and from there the tree receives the carbon dioxide, etc. Okay, example, rhizophora, heritiora, sonaracia, etc. So these are some of the examples for respiration examples. Okay, these are also known as nematophores or breathing roots. So this category is also known as nematophores or breathing roots. Okay, so next we have the nodulated roots. Okay, the next category is of nodulated roots. So when we go for nodulated roots, mainly seen in Leguminosae family. So these nodulated roots are mainly seen in Leguminaceae family. Roots have swellings known as nodules, okay, which fix the nitrogen present in the, these nodules have a nitrogen fixing bacteria, that is rhizobium, which helps in converting the nitrogen which is present in the soil into nitrates, and then it is been utilized by the plants. Okay, so that is how the food reaches into the reaches into the plant by converting them into the nitrogen is converted into nitrates and then reaches into the plants. Examples are like groundnut, okay, peas, beans, etc. These all comes under this category. Next one is adventitious roots. Okay, when we go for adventitious roots, these are fleshy. The first category for modification is fleshy for storage of food, same like our first one in under tap roots, right? Here also we have fleshy for storage of food. Under that again we have two categories. First one is simple tuberous roots and next one is fasciculated tuberous roots. First, simple tuberous roots, okay, swollen but doesn't have certain shape. They are swollen in nature but doesn't have certain shape. Arise from nodes of the stems, okay, arise from the nodes of the stems. Example, sweet potato, okay, sweet potato, it doesn't have any shape, right? They are somewhere fleshy, somewhere they are thin, somewhere they are swollen, in that way. And these are found in bunches, okay, they are found in bunches. So wherever the what we say stem, okay, wherever the nodes of the stems are present, there they have the sweet potatoes. Next, fasciculated tuberous roots, okay, next category is fasciculated tuberous roots. A group of adventitious root become fleshy due to storage of food. Here clusters, a group of roots, they club together and they form into fruits or they form into tuberous roots. Okay, examples are like dahlia and asparagus. Example for this is dahlia and asparagus. That is about the fleshy fleshy roots or for the storage of food. Next category is the mechanical support, is for the mechanical support. So examples types in that is again the first one stilt root or brace roots, okay, stilt root or brace roots. Here what happens, see in the image you can see like this, right? So example for this is sugar cane, okay, sugar cane maize. So here what happens, from the nodes or internodes, okay, obliquely means transversely or obliquely roots are being developed and they form a grip, okay, they form a grip into the soil. So that is known as tilt roots or brace roots, okay. Next one is prop root or pillar roots. Next one is prop root or pillar roots. So roots arise from branches of the plants and grow downwards into the soil. Example, banyan tree we know, right? So from the branches the roots are been developed and they go into the soil. That is banyan tree, okay. Next category is the buttress roots here, okay. Buttress roots arises from the basal part of the stem, okay. So the plant is there, right? For example, if you can see in this image here, if you see, okay, from here if the stems have been developed, okay, here from here the stems have been, from here the roots are been developed from the basal part of the stems, okay, from there the roots are been done, okay, are being obtained from the basal part of the stem, grows in different directions. Example, ficus, terminalia, okay, mostly tropical rainforest areas these type of buttress roots are being seen, okay. Next, climbing roots. Next one is the climbing roots, arise from nodes and help in climbing. Example, money plant, you know about money plant, right? So from the nodes small roots are being obtained and they are helpful for climbing, okay. They provide grip into the wall or anything and they just help in climbing of the tree. Example, money plant, pothos is also known as pothos. Beetle, okay, beetle plant. Next, beetle means you know pan, right? Pan plant, okay. Next, black pepper, etc. Next, for special functions, okay, for special function examples types, Foliar roots or epiphyllous roots arise from leaves. Example, bryophyllum. So we have already seen this category. So when the leaves falls on the soil, the edges of the leaves produces the plants. Okay. Next is sucking or parasitic roots. Sucking or parasitic roots. Here roots enter into the stem of the host plant to obtain the nutrients. Here what happens? The roots of one plant enters into the stem, inside the stem of another plant, so that the nutrients of the main plant can be obtained by the other plant. Okay, that is one of the example, that is sucking or parasitic roots. Okay, that is known as sucking or parasitic roots. Example, cascata dendrophtho. Okay, thoy, dendrophthoy. Okay, example, cascata and dendrophthoy. So these are the examples of special functions of adventitious roots. These are the two, foliar roots and sucking or parasitic roots. So that is about the modifications. We have studied the types and morphology of roots, types of roots, modifications of roots, and we have also know about the functions of the roots. So I have not discussed it here, as we have discussed in the class itself the functions of the roots. So that is about roots.